The research station floated above a cold and barren moon, its metal body shining under the weak light of distant stars. Inside the station, alien scientists worked quietly, studying human samples they had collected during years of secret contact. They believed humans were dangerous, unpredictable, yet full of strange mysteries. Among these scientists was a young alien woman named Soraya. She had golden eyes, smooth, pale skin, and a graceful posture that showed her noble training. Soraya was known for her discipline. She followed every rule, every order, never once letting curiosity control her. But on this day, something unexpected happened. Something that would change her life forever. Soraya stood in the lab chamber, examining a small glass container. Inside it was a clear vapor extracted from human sweat. It was meant for chemical study, harmless according to their readings. She moved closer, her hands steady, her breath calm. She was supposed to write her notes and leave. Yet as she leaned in, the vapor escaped the seal. It swirled in the air, and before she could stop herself, Soraya inhaled it deeply. At first nothing happened. She blinked, waved her hand in annoyance, and muttered that the equipment was faulty. But then her heart skipped a beat. A sudden warmth spread across her chest. Her breathing grew uneven. Her skin flushed with a faint glow. She stumbled back, her golden eyes wide with confusion. "What is happening to me?" she whispered. Her voice shook. She looked around quickly, hoping no one had noticed. The other scientists were busy with their own studies, bent over their instruments, tapping data screens. Nobody cared about her small accident. Relief touched her for a moment. But then another wave of heat rushed through her body. It was not pain, but it was terrifying. Her senses sharpened. She could hear the soft hum of machines, the distant vibration of the station walls, even the heartbeat of a human soldier who stood guard outside the lab door. Soraya froze. She should not be able to hear that. Her thoughts scattered. Her training told her to report the mistake, yet her instincts screamed to hide it. She clenched her fists, forcing herself to walk calmly. To her desk, she sat down, her pen scratching across the tablet. But her hand shook, her letters uneven. She could not focus. Every breath carried a strange scent, rich and powerful. It was human pheromones, and her body was responding in ways she did not understand. She tried to tell herself it would pass. Just a chemical reaction, temporary. But as the minutes passed, the heat did not fade. Instead, it grew, crawling up her neck. Burning behind her eyes, she bit her lip, pressing her hand against her chest. Her skin was so hot that even the fabric of her uniform felt heavy and uncomfortable. Through the glass wall of the lab, she saw him, the human soldier assigned as security. His name was Daniel. He stood straight, helmet under his arm, eyes scanning the corridor. He was tall, strong, and calm. Unlike the restless energy of her people, Soraya had seen him many times before, but never truly looked at him. Now, as her body trembled with strange fire, her gaze locked onto him. She could not look away. Her chest rose and fell faster, her throat dry. Her heart pounded louder. Her alien instincts, carefully controlled for years, whispered something dangerous. She shook her head violently, trying to break the thought. This was impossible. Humans were not meant to affect her. She was disciplined. She was trained. Yet, her body betrayed her. She pushed away from the desk and hurried down the hall. Her steps uneven. She needed air. She needed space. She entered a small chamber at the edge of the lab, sealed the door, and leaned against the wall. Her hands pressed to her temples. "Calm down, Soraya," she whispered to herself. "It's nothing. It will pass." But the warmth only deepened, her body quivering as if something inside her had awakened. She remembered old warnings, stories told by elders about forbiddens contact with humans. They had said humans carried something unpredictable, something dangerous. Now she understood. Those warnings were not just myths. They were real. Her reflection in the glass caught her eye. Her golden skin now glowed faintly as if light lived beneath it. Her eyes shimmered brighter than before. The sight filled her with dread. If anyone saw her like this, they would know. They would accuse her of corruption. They would strip her of her rank and cast her out. Outside the chamber, Daniel shifted. Sensing something wrong, he glanced toward the sealed door, his expression thoughtful. He could not hear her words, but somehow he felt her distress. Soraya pressed her hand against the glass, her breath fogging it. Her body ached, her mind torn between fear and confusion. "What is happening to me?" she whispered again. Her voice cracked, the silence of the chamber wrapped around her, cold and heavy, yet inside her, a storm was building. The last image in this part is her eyes wide with panic, glowing in the dark chamber as her whisper echoed, "This is only the beginning." The small chamber stayed dark as Soraya sat on the floor, her back pressed against the cold wall. Her body trembled with waves of heat, rising and falling like tides she could not control. She wrapped her arms around herself, whispering for calm. But her alien training gave her no answers. Her people never spoke of this kind of change. Minutes stretched into hours, and she felt her senses sharpen more than before. Every sound outside the chamber grew clearer. Footsteps in the corridor, voices of scientists talking, and the steady, deep rhythm of Daniel's human heartbeat. She pressed her palms over her ears, but the sounds slipped through. Her mind refused to shut them out. When she finally stood, her legs shook. Her reflection on the glass wall startled her again. Her skin seemed alive with a faint shimmer, as if the human pheromones had awakened something buried in her blood. She tried to convince herself it was illusion, but the glow returned with every breath. She could not let anyone see. Her people would call her corrupted. They had strict laws forbidding closeness with humans. Any alien who broke the rule faced exile or worse. The thought made her chest tighten, yet her body refused to obey the law. It betrayed her with every rush of heat, every sharp beat of her heart. Soraya left the chamber quietly, pulling her cloak tighter. She walked down the corridor, keeping her head lowered. Daniel noticed. His sharp human eyes caught the small tremble in her steps. "Are you all right?" he asked softly, his voice calm but carrying concern. Soraya froze. The warmth inside her flared just at the sound of his words. She turned quickly, forcing a cold expression. "I am fine, soldier. Return to your post." Daniel nodded, but his gaze lingered on her longer than before. He could sense she was hiding something. Humans were good at reading small details, and he had seen the tension in her body, inside her private quarters. Soraya collapsed onto her bed. She pressed her face into her hands, trying to breathe slowly, but when she closed her eyes, images of Daniel appeared in her thoughts. His strong shoulders, the calm way he stood guard, the steady beat of his heart. She gasped and forced the image away. This was wrong, forbidden. She repeated the words again and again, but her body ignored them. That night, she dreamed vividly. In the dream, she stood in a vast forest, the air filled with strange light. Daniel stood before her, reaching out his hand. She wanted to turn away, but her body moved toward him. When his hand touched hers, fire spread through her veins. Her eyes flew open, and she sat up, gasping. Her sheets were damp with sweat. Her body still burned as if the dream had been real. The next morning, Soraya tried to distract herself with work. She filled reports, checked data, and ran experiments. But every time she wrote a line, her mind slipped back to him. The scent of the pheromones clung to her senses, haunting her. By midday, her body betrayed her again. A sharp heat flared inside her chest, so strong that she dropped the container she was holding. The glass shattered on the floor. The sound drew the attention of her colleagues. They turned, their eyes narrowing. "Are you unwell, Soraya?" one of them asked, suspicion in his voice. She forced herself to straighten. "I am fine, just tired," she replied, her voice steady though her hands shook. They watched her for a moment, whispering quietly, then turned back to their tasks. But Soraya knew their eyes would return. They were beginning to notice. That evening, Daniel caught her again in the corridor. "You're not fine," he said firmly. His eyes searched her face. "Something is." happening? Tell me what it is. Saraya stepped back, fear racing through her. If she told him, everything would be over, yet her silence was dangerous too. The heat in her body grew worse each day. I cannot, she whispered, her voice cracked. With desperation, you would not understand. Daniel's gaze softened, but he did not move closer. He simply nodded. Then let me help in any way I can, even if you say nothing. His words pierced her like a blade and a comfort at once. She turned and hurried away before he could see the glow rising under her skin again. In her chamber, she locked the door and sank to the floor. The warmth inside her chest had turned into fire. Her skin shimmered brightly now, not faint like before. Her eyes reflected golden light. Her whole body felt like it was being rewritten. She buried her face in her hands, her voice trembling. If this continues, she whispered, I will not be the same anymore. The silence of the chamber swallowed her words. Outside, the cold stars glowed beyond the glass. Inside, an alien woman fought against a forbidden change that her own people would never forgive. And yet, deep inside, she feared the truth most. Of all, she was no longer fighting against it. She was slowly giving in. The long halls of the research station were silent, but Saraya's heart was not. It beat fast, each thump loud in her ears. The forbidden change inside her was growing stronger every day, and no amount of discipline could silence it. She tried to avoid Daniel, the human soldier, but the harder she tried, the more fate seemed to push him toward her. One evening, as she walked through the corridor with her cloak wrapped tightly around her, she heard his footsteps behind her. His stride was calm, steady, but she could not mistake the way he followed her path. She turned sharply, her golden eyes narrowed. Why are you trailing me? She asked, trying to keep her voice firm. Daniel stopped a few steps away, his expression calm. Because you're not well, and no one else sees it, but I do. Saraya clenched her fists at her side. Heat rushed into her chest again. Her skin burned, her throat dry. She wanted to shout at him, to send him away. But the words refused to leave her lips. His presence only made her tremble more. You should stay away, she whispered, turning quickly. Her cloak swirled as she hurried off, but Daniel followed with long, steady steps. Staying away won't change anything, he said, his voice steady. I can see you suffering. Let me help. The words pierced her. She froze for a moment, her back to him. Her body shook as the fire inside rose again. She closed her eyes, begging her strength to hold. But when he placed a hand gently on her arm, everything shattered. Her skin burned where he touched. Her body trembled violently. Her golden eyes widened. She pulled away, gasping as if she had been struck. The warmth surged like lightning through her veins. Her breathing rapid. Daniel stepped back, his eyes filled with alarm. What was that? He whispered. Why did my touch? Do not speak of it, Saraya snapped, her voice breaking between fear and anger. You cannot understand, and you must never try. She turned and fled, leaving Daniel standing in the corridor, his hands still tingling from the strange spark. In her private quarters, Saraya collapsed against the wall. Her body was no longer her own. Every time she thought of him, the heat rose. Every time she heard his voice, her blood stirred. She pressed her hands against her chest, whispering to herself again and again, this is forbidden, this is wrong. But her body ignored her words. Days passed, and the bond between them grew stronger, though neither wanted to admit it. Daniel's eyes followed her whenever she entered the lab. Saraya tried to avoid his gaze, but her heart betrayed her, beating faster whenever his shadow crossed hers. One night, when the station's lights dimmed to simulate rest hours, Saraya wandered alone into the observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly beyond the glass. She pressed her hands against it, trying to lose herself in the silence of the universe. Can't sleep either. Daniel's voice came from behind. She spun quickly, her cloak swaying, her golden eyes wide with surprise. You again, she muttered, but her voice lacked strength. Daniel walked closer, his face calm but his eyes searching hers. "I know you don't want to tell me, but I'm not blind. Something is changing in you, and every time I see it, I feel like I'm part of it." Soraya's breath caught. His words were too close to the truth. She tried to step back, but he moved closer, carefully, slowly, as if afraid she would break. "Why do you risk speaking to me this way?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "Because," he said softly, "I think whatever is happening to you is connected to me." His words struck like thunder. She wanted to deny them, yet her body betrayed her again. Her golden skin shimmered faintly, glowing under the dim lights. Her breath came faster. She saw the reflection of herself in his eyes, and she could not escape. "No," she whispered, shaking her head. "This is forbidden. If my people find out, then let them find out later," Daniel said firmly. "Right now you need help, and I won't walk away." Her throat closed, her instincts screamed to flee, but her heart whispered to stay. The warmth inside her rose until her whole body quivered. "Do you not understand?" she whispered, tears rising in her golden eyes. "If this continues, I will not be myself anymore." Daniel looked at her, his expression steady. "Then I'll make sure you're not alone when it happens." His words filled her with both terror and comfort. She stepped back, shaking her head, and before he could reach her, she turned and ran into the shadows of the station. Her cloak fluttered like a dark wing behind her. In her chamber, she locked the door and collapsed onto the floor. Her reflection in the glass shimmered brighter than ever, her body glowing faintly, like fire hidden beneath skin. Her hands trembled as she whispered, "The human's touch. It's rewriting me." She pressed her forehead against her knees, her eyes wide with fear, the silence around her heavy. Outside her chamber, Daniel stood in the corridor, watching the closed door. His hand rested on the wall, his jaw tight. Inside her, the forbidden change had gone too far, and though she wanted to fight it, she knew the truth. Her body was no longer resisting. It was surrendering to the human connection. The station hummed with quiet life, but inside Soraya's heart there was no calm. Each day the changes grew stronger, her body no longer obeying the strict order of her people. Her skin shimmered faintly even when she tried to hide it under heavy cloaks. Her senses were so sharp that every sound of the humans around her pressed into her thoughts. And above all, the presence of Daniel pulled at her like a force she could not resist. She avoided him for days, locking herself in the lab or her quarters. She spoke little to the others, afraid they would hear the strain in her voice, but whispers had already started. Colleagues noticed her trembling hands, her glowing eyes, and the way she seemed distracted whenever the human soldier stood near. One afternoon, during a research meeting, Soraya sat before the High Council of Scientists. The chamber was tall and cold, with walls lined by glowing crystals. The elders questioned her about her progress. She tried to answer with steady words, but her body betrayed her. Sweat clung to her skin. Her chest rose and fell too quickly. One elder narrowed his eyes. "You appear unwell, Soraya," he said. "Are you hiding something from us?" Her heart raced. She forced a bow. "No, elder. I am only tired from long studies." But as she spoke, a flare of warmth erupted in her chest. Her skin glowed faintly visible. Even beneath her cloak, gasps filled the chamber. The elders leaned forward in shock. "What is this light?" one demanded. "Explain yourself." Soraya froze, panic gripping her throat. She could not answer. Her hands trembled as she lowered her head. Every breath carried the dangerous scent of human pheromones still trapped in her memory. From the corner of the chamber, Daniel's voice cut through the silence. He had been stationed as guard during the meeting, his tone steady but protective. "She needs medical rest, not interrogation." The elders turned on him sharply. "Silence, human," one barked. "You will speak only when commanded." But Daniel did not lower his gaze. His eyes locked on Soraya, and for a moment she felt strength in his quiet defiance. The elders ended the meeting quickly, ordering Soraya to return to her quarters until they could investigate. Guards were placed near her door. Their suspicious eyes followed her every move. She knew her secret was no longer safe. That night, her body reached a new stage, the heat. Inside her rose until her skin burned like fire. She staggered to her mirror, her reflection glowing bright as if light itself lived in her blood. Her veins shone beneath her skin. Her golden eyes blazed. She clutched the edge of the table, gasping. This is too far," she whispered. A sharp knock rattled her door. "Saraya," Daniel's voice came, low but firm. "Let me in." She hesitated, fear in her chest, but then another wave of heat struck her, forcing her to stumble. She could not fight alone anymore. With trembling hands, she unlocked the door. Daniel stepped inside quickly, closing it behind him. His eyes widened as he saw her glowing form. His breath caught, but instead of fear, his gaze held something else, concern mixed with awe. "What have they done to you?" he whispered. Saraya shook her head. "They did nothing. It is me. It is this change. The pheromones. They are rewriting me. I cannot stop it." Daniel stepped closer, his hand reaching to steady her. She flinched, but when his skin touched hers, the fire surged, and yet, strangely, it calmed at the same time. His touch burned, but also soothed. Her body leaned toward him against her will. "You are not alone in this," he said firmly. "Whatever is happening, we face it together." Tears welled in her golden eyes. "No, if they see this, they will destroy me, and they will destroy you for being part of it." A loud alarm echoed. Through the station, the council had discovered her condition was unstable. Guards marched toward her chamber. Their heavy steps shook the floor. Saraya gasped. Realizing they meant to take her away for study, Daniel's jaw tightened. "They will not touch you," he said, pulling her close. "Not while I breathe." The door hissed open. 3 alien guards stepping inside, their weapons raised, their eyes wide at the sight of Saraya's glowing body. "She has become corrupted," one declared. "By law, she must be contained." Saraya trembled, her voice breaking. "Please, do not." Before she could finish, Daniel stepped in front of her, his body shielding hers. "If you want her," he said coldly, "you'll have to go through me." The guards hesitated, surprised at the human's defiance. Their weapons hummed with power. But Daniel did not move, his stance strong, his eyes sharp. Behind him, Saraya's glow intensified. The fire inside her reached its peak. Her body shook as if something new was about to be born. She pressed her hands to her chest, whispering, "This is it. I cannot hold it back anymore." The guards prepared to strike. Daniel raised his arm, and Saraya collapsed to her knees, her body erupting in light brighter than ever before. The chamber filled with golden fire, the guards shielding their eyes in shock. And as the glow consumed the room, Saraya's voice echoed through the blinding light. "I am no longer who I was.